Perfect. So on this week's episode of the podcast, we have the fab Lauren Tickner on, and I've been really looking forward to this because I know it's just going to be filled with so much knowledge. So Lauren, thanks so much for taking the time out of your busy day to hop on this podcast with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, you got my wet hair, just been swimming. So sorry about that.
So yeah, I suppose for me and what I like to do is I love a backstory. I love finding out how people got to where they are. That's something that really just lights a fire in me when I hear other people's story, and it just really, really inspires me. So that's why even just to see a female do so well in business is another big thing that really just wanted me to get you on this podcast. Because I suppose for me, when I look at Instagram and I see people kind of offering different things to help people grow businesses, there's so many of them. Your inbox would be flooded and you're just like, go away, go away, go away. But there's something about your page that just really stood out to me and kind of caught my eye, and you can see that you're a genuine person, you know, that kind of way. So that's why I kind of really want to kind of get you on and really kind of find out more of kind of who you are and where you got to be. So I suppose taking it back to the get-go when you were younger, where did it all start? When you were in school, where did you think your life was going to go?
Oh my gosh. So you know those kids who like in class when the teacher would say, hey, read this page of the book or something, they would go so red and get all embarrassed? That was me. And so I was never confident as a kid by any means. Even if I knew the answer was right in class, like I would always doubt myself. I remember in my reports and everything that the teachers gave, they always would say, Lauren could do really well, but she just doesn't apply herself, right? And so that was what I would constantly hear. And so I don't know why, but I always had this desire to be successful. My dad was able to, he had like a small estate agency business. Like I thought when I was younger, he was like so successful, probably made like, 100 to 200 grand a year or something, which is a good, salary, right? But I realized that he pretty much had like a leveraged job and he had a bit more freedom than other people, but he still had to be there for the business to like fully run, And so he was able to come and pick me up from school sometimes, which was really amazing because my younger brother, he's 2 years younger than me, he's disabled and has epilepsy and autism and various other learning disabilities. So despite the fact that he's in his 20s, his mental age is like 2 years old, right? And so he has to have always at least one-on-one care. And so for me, I guess at a very young age, like I realized that there's a lot of power to having some type of level of professional freedom. But at the same time, I grew up in a place where success was very much defined by your job title. So I thought I wanted to be a fund manager. And so I went at the age of 18 and got a job at an asset management firm in London. And from the outside, like I was really successful. Who does that at age 18? That's very rare. And it's not like my family, like no one in my family has ever been in finance. So I had to go through all these different assessments to get this job. And so I felt like I worked really hard to get it. And when I got there, I was so confused because it was so boring and it was just so unrewarding. And basically, I just had this moment where I was like, this is really weird because the job that so many people spend years to work towards to get and do massive degrees with like masters and everything, I've got this right now and I hate it. And so I felt this massive conflict inside of my mind because I was thinking like I should be feeling gratitude for this, but I'm feeling resentment. And so it was a really confusing time for me. And so basically that's how I ended up leaving that job and then going all in and starting my online coaching company in fitness. Basically that's what propelled me to get into what I do today. But to answer your question, I think it's interesting how so many people have this fixed idea on like what I want to be when I grow up, when really oftentimes these opportunities present themselves to you, and then it's up to you in that moment to decide, just because I made this decision years ago from the person and the information I had back then, is it going to cause me to say no to an opportunity that could totally change my life and get me all the success I want just because of this preconceived notion that I had from back in the day, right? And so I suppose through my experiences, what I've realized is to be fixed upon the vision in which I want to achieve, but to not be fixed upon the mechanism of getting there.
Yeah. Cool. And even like from making that transition from that job, because I was kind of the same, I got like my job, that was it. Like I was sorted for life, and like everyone was like really happy, got my car, had everything. And someone turned around to me in the office and was like, that's it, like this is your life now for the next 40 years till you retire. And I was like, no, like I do not want this. And that's why I was so excited to get a 9 to 5 job, to be able to wear those office clothes. And I was like,
Yeah.
this isn't happiness. Like I'm just like, this can't be what life is all about. And I think everyone's different. Like it suits some people, but I think when you have that itch there that you're like, no, like this is not for me, you really kind of need to follow your gut on it. So I suppose making that transition for me anyways to a coach, like my family was kind of like, because I done it during COVID, like the worst time you could leave the most safe job in the world, because everyone was losing their jobs, and like I had the most secure job because it was like a government job, so I was never going to lose it. So everyone was like, why are you leaving? Like, you know, COVID's happening, like would you not just stay on? Would you not do the coaching on the side, like do it as a hobby? And I was just like, I couldn't think of anything worse. Like if I'm doing this, I'm going all in on it. So I suppose that's what I was surrounded by, and I was really doubting myself then of shit, like maybe I should listen to them. So did you have that as well when you were making that transition to do coaching full time? Was your family kind of telling you otherwise, or?
The people from my school, like they still totally take the piss out of me. They just think it's the weirdest thing in the world. I was one time, it was on Boxing Day about 3 years ago, I think, and I was sat next to my dad, and I suddenly got this message on WhatsApp from this girl. I won't say the name, but basically this girl who was the sister of my best friend since I was 10. Okay. So this girl, like I knew her super well. She was a couple of years older. And I used to go on holiday with her and her sister all the time, because like they were literally like, this one girl was my best friend, and then her older sister was always obviously there too. I got this text of like a screenshot of a post that I had made on LinkedIn, because I was doing this cash giveaway, like Christmas cash prize giveaway. Just, you know, why not? Like, right, the season of giving. And so I was holding like £100 or something. And anyways, I get this text come through on WhatsApp, like, who the hell does she think she is? And the sister had clearly meant to send it to the younger sister that was my friend, but accidentally sent it to me because she had my name in her mind, right? And I turned to my dad. I was like, oh my gosh, look at this message that I just got. And I replied saying, she thinks that she's someone who is positively impacting other people's lives. And that's literally what I said. And she replied back like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. We were just playing a game, like, or like this. And I'm like, dude, that's total BS. You don't need to lie to me. Like, I can see straight through you. But at the same time, you know, hey, my content's getting reach, right? Like, I don't really care, because as a byproduct of that, I got loads of clients, and I was able to gift someone some money, which really changed their entire week. And so I think it's just funny, because like life is too short to care what other people think about you. When you're under the ground because you're dead, no one's going to be thinking like, oh, I wish, you know, oh, I'm really afraid of how I look right now. Like, you're dead, right? No one cares. So instead, just do whatever the hell you want to do right now, and do it because of there's a greater good, and then you'll attract the people around you. So I'm really grateful now, like all of my friends have the same philosophies, and you know, I come on here, my hair's wet, like I don't give a shit how I look, because I just don't care. And there's way more other important things that I need to be thinking about than things like this, right? And so the people that I went to school with, my friends, my family, like, you know, at the end of the day, you have the opportunity to make the decisions which are going to allow you to be the person that you want to be. And when you are showing up ultimately as your truest version of yourself, you're totally unshakable. Like, no one else can say anything that's going to offend you. Because if someone was to tell me like, Lauren, you have green hair, okay, maybe it's green because I just went in the swimming pool, but like if they would tell me like, Lauren, you have like black hair, it's just not true. So I'm just like, what are you saying? Like, you're totally deluded. Same thing when anyone like criticizes something I'm doing. If they say something and then I feel a sense of like, oh gosh, yeah, then that means that I'm doubting myself, and I'm doubting something about what I'm doing. And so only in the very beginning, when I hadn't had any success, did I have these feelings, because I didn't have any success, right? They had no reason to believe me. And then confidence comes with success. And so after I had a certain level of success, then other people, you know, it just kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah, I think that's it. Like when you are starting off and like you're doing all these things, even for me, like to come on chatting on my stories or do things like that instant fear was like, shit, everyone's going to be saying like, who does she think she is? Like, but you have to act like the person you want to become at the end of the day, and you have to go through those ridiculously uncomfortable situations, especially because you're putting so much out on social media and you're thinking, oh, like what if it goes wrong? What if it goes wrong? But having that attitude is actually what's holding you back and probably will start going wrong because you won't stay pushing. So I think it is important when you are at that stage to stay pushing to the person you want to become, because everyone who is kind of laughing at you, like I was actually reading this thing, it's like perception projection. So how they view the world is actually how they view themselves. So it's not anything you're doing. It's just something that they're like, shit, I wish I could do something like that. And then when they see it, they're the ones asking you then, oh, like, how did you get there? You know, that kind of way.
Yeah, it's so true. And I was just on a call earlier this morning with my sales team. And one of the guys who was speaking to some leads, he was just being really soft with them, right? And so he wasn't suggesting any times to schedule a call or get back in the DMs. He was instead just like, oh yeah, like just let me know when you're online. And I said to him, I was like, do you feel like these people are going to actually reply to you? He's like, yeah, they'll probably get back to me. And I was like, okay, so if someone said that to you, would you get back to them? He's like, yeah, of course. I would always get back to them because it's the type of person that I am to respond to them. And I was like, right. So you are the type of person that shows up and actually follows through and like replies to people even when they have no reason to. That's what you tolerate. But other people, they aren't going to operate in that way. You have to control the conversation a little bit more because you can't just make assumptions. And then we got down to the bottom of it a little bit more. And what we actually ended up realizing is that what he tolerates in his life is that he's okay with people not responding to him and just totally ghosting because they forgot, because sometimes he actually forgets. And I was like, right, so you'll reply to them when it suits you, but if they give you two options to choose from, you feel pressured. And then he was like, yeah. And I was like, right. And so that's why you're not giving them two options to choose from, because you don't want them to feel pressured. And he's like, oh. And I was like, exactly. So when we really think about this, the reason why you're not doing the thing that you need to do to get the outcome that you want is just because of your projection as to how you see this situation.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was interesting because like only when we went round in circles for literally like 15 minutes did we realize like really why is he not doing this thing that he knows that he should do. And it's because he didn't want to essentially get rejected.
Yeah, it's powerful, isn't it? Like when you work with questions like that and figure out what it actually is. And I think language is so powerful as well. Like as soon as he said, oh, like they'll probably get back to me, or I hope to do that. Like they're like it can either only go one or two ways. You will do something or you won't do something. If you hope or you probably will, that's a no, you know. I think when you have that attitude as well, really looking at like how you speak to yourself like that, when you're saying things like hope and oh, if I get a chance, or I'll probably get back to them in a while, it's not going to happen, you know. So I think language and questions, figure out why you're kind of acting like that, are so powerful. But taking it back to your online coaching business, how did you kind of kickstart with that? How did that all get started for you?
Yeah, so I was actually watching Rob Lipsett on YouTube. He's from Ireland.
Yeah.
And I remember, this is like way back in the day, like 8 years ago. I don't even remember. So he was like talking about, oh yeah, I'm going to try this online coaching thing. I was thinking like, what is online coaching? So I was Googling it and there was literally nothing because it wasn't even a thing then. And so I would see some more of the stuff that he was talking about and how like there was a couple, his friends, they were doing it. And I noticed they were all guys. I was like, huh. And I was like really obsessed with evidence-based fitness back then. And I mean, I still am. It's just I don't really talk about it so much. And I was like seeing not him, but some others like, and their information was really bad. I'm not gonna lie. So I thought I can do this better. I have better information. So I started like sharing content on social media. And then slowly but surely people started saying to me, hey, Lauren, where are you based? Like, can you do personal training for me? I was like, I'm not not being a personal trainer, you know, like I'd always heard like personal trainers, the maximum salary you can make is like 40 grand a year. I was like, I want to make more money than that. And so then I really thought about this online coaching thing, and I saw Rob was always traveling. And so I thought, well, he's living a great life. I should start online coaching. And so basically that's kind of how I started, honestly, just because I had seen that he was doing it, and then I'd seen some other people that were doing it not really well. And then I thought, well, I can coach women because no one's coaching, well, really girls back then. And so that's how I started. And I had no idea what I was doing. I can vividly remember sitting on the floor because I was 17 at the time. I was still in school. And I had just finished my homework for my like microeconomics exam or something. And I remember sitting on the floor, like, yeah, in my parents' living room, like trying to figure out how the hell to make this spreadsheet for my clients with their workouts on it. And I didn't know how to make a spreadsheet back then because I never learned that. I didn't do maths or something. And yeah. And then I learned about like Google Sheets and things like this. It just wasn't the same as it is now. Like it's very easy now. Back then, like I was totally guessing. And it was just funny because, you know, those were the times where I realized like, holy shit, I tried Googling it. I tried figuring everything out. I tried asking some friends who were like personal trainers or whatever. They were like, yeah, just text them and send them what to do. And I realized that no one had a clue what to do. They were just figuring out as they went. And since getting like growing in business, friends that have like these deca $1 million companies, even some people that have like $100 million companies, there's a lot of stuff that they're just figuring out every step of the way. And it's just so funny because like even back then, like something so small all the way to these huge guys, like literally people are just guessing as they go.
Yeah, I think that's a huge thing. I think when you look at people on social media who have it together, you're like, oh shit, like they definitely like know it all. There's some secret ways. And when you get in contact with these people, you realize like everybody is in the same boat. Like you think, oh, like they must have this really fancy spreadsheet. You think it's all these things, but it's actually just down to you and you how you deliver your service, I think is more important than trying to find these magic ways. I suppose like a weight loss journey, trying to find these quick ways. But then again, I suppose people might look at you and think, like, because obviously people now when they're starting business, like online coaching, like even because I'm out here in Bali, like, and it's full of online coaches, and people might think, oh, it's too saturated now, I'm not getting into that. And they'll look at you and they'll say, oh, like she was lucky, you know, she started at the right time because there wasn't many back then. So that's why it was so successful for her. What do you think you would say to people like that?
Well, when I was starting online fitness coaching, it was actually too early because this is when people were still afraid to put their credit card on the internet. So I was doing PayPal because people felt more safe on that. And so they were still really, really afraid. And because of my age as well, like I was 17. And so people were like, you know, she's 17, like she's a kid. I can't trust her. So yeah, I think actually I think I started too early. I had a lot more quote unquote success when I was around 21 because by then I wasn't like I wasn't super young, like I wasn't a teenager, but also the industry had kind of come together more, especially in fitness. I'm seeing the same thing right now in kind of like spirituality stuff. Like people are really starting to understand this world. And so just to your point, so I just want to go back for a second because what I think is interesting is like everyone is always figuring out some area of their life at any one time, but then there are certain things which are proven and which do work and which are the truth, right? And so like I will say it really comes down to being very self-aware of like what do you really need right now. And I think that's some very important differentiation because back then I didn't even know what I didn't know. And I think one of the most powerful things about coaching is that coaches can actually fill in the blind spots that you don't even see, right? And so, for example, with my company now, Impact School, like I would even say that we're honestly more consulting than coaching because we really tell clients what to do, whereas coaching is more about empowering other people to solve their own answers, right? Whereas like for most of our clients, like we really guarantee that we'll double their revenue if they're coming in at our higher level option, and then if they're coming in sort of where they're trying to get to their first 20k months, we have a different guarantee. But essentially like it's like you do this and this will come out the other end. It's more like mathematical. Whereas then there are some other things like, you know, leadership things in which we have to actually coach the CEOs about. or maybe they even have like heads of marketing, CMOs, that come to us, and then we have to coach them through particular problems that they're struggling with. So it's kind of like a fusion of the two. But to your initial question regarding sort of getting started with coaching, and the timing and everything, like, yeah, I mean, look, the timing was really great, and I'm really grateful for that. So like, I have to say, I took advantage of it. And just like how anything, I'm always looking, what's coming up next, where's the direction of things that are going. It's very clear to me that with the rise of Web3, the metaverse, etc., coaching is going to grow even more. People are going to need coaches even more than they're ever going to need them. And so that's why I'm grateful to support people who are focused on helping people, because people's mental health conditions are getting increasingly worse. And then at the same time, more and more people are starting their own companies, right? So these are perfect clienteles for Impact School. And yeah, I'm grateful to be riding the wave.
Yeah, cool. And even then, from making that transition from online coaching to starting the Impact School, how did that transition come about for you?
So I was sponsored by Gymshark, and so were like loads of my friends, right? Which is a big fitness company. And I guess this was like 2018, I think it was around then. Basically, I get a call one day, like literally he's like, Lauren, look, I'm just going to cut straight into it. We aren't going to be able to keep working with you anymore. We're going to be dropping a lot of people. I think his name was like Joe or something. Anyway, so I'm like, okay, thanks, Joe, bye. And like, I hang up the phone and I'm thinking to myself like, oh, well, that was a wild ride. And then next thing I know, like, I'm basically posting on my Snapchat this funnel sign up page for a free challenge. I was doing this fitness challenge whereby you could sign up, and then at the end, I think you could, I can't remember the exact prizes, but it was like $500, a one-on-one coaching program with me for 6 months. And then I think 5 people could win like some of my training programs that were like just ebooks. And so I remember 2 of my friends who had also been sponsored by Gymshark, they replied to me like, Lauren, how can I do this? And I thought they meant, how can I do the challenge? I'm like, dude, this is for girls. Like, I understand that you've just been dropped by Gymshark, but surely like you're making more money than, the $500. And so I was having banter with them, and they were like, no, Lauren, seriously, like that was my main source of revenue. Like they said that was my main salary. And I was like, oh shit, okay. So anyways, we got talking, and so I had obviously made this funnel for myself, and I had seen other people being affiliates for the software funnel builder that I was using. So what you could do is just take the link, like the link that was on the back end of the software, and you could share it with someone, and suddenly they would have access to use the funnel as their own. And so I said, like, take this, sign up. It's like $97 a month. There's a 14-day free trial, so don't stress about that, because they had no money, right? So they were like worried. I was like, change this words, instead of saying toned, make it say shredded, add your photo there, your before and after, and just start posting it on your social media. They were like, well, Lauren, can't I just make a YouTube video about it? I was like, you can, but you need to get them to sign up and build your email list. They were like, what's an email list? And then I told them all this stuff. Anyway, one of the guys, he launched it, and in his first month, he made more than 200K, right? US dollars, cash collected. And that's because he had millions and millions of followers. And then the other guy, he did something crazy as well. I don't remember the exact number now. But the point is, I then thought, this is interesting. So maybe I should do something with this. So I basically wrote this entire ebook, because I had had a lot of success in the fitness industry on selling ebooks. I wrote this ebook on like how to create and launch a program, like a coaching program. And so I posted it on my Facebook, and I wasn't even using Facebook then, so I don't know why the hell I did this, but I posted on my Facebook, like, I've just made this ebook, can someone read it through for me? And this girl called Emily replied. She was like, hey, Lauren, yeah, I'll check it. And she was a teacher teaching maths in Australia. And I was like, oh, she's a teacher, cool, like she's really smart. And so I'm still like, I don't know what year this even is back then. So I send it to her, she reads it through, and she's like, this is amazing, like, can we take a call? And I was like, yeah, sure, like, let's take a call, because I thought she was going to help me figure it out. She was like, I want to work with you one-on-one. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, yeah, I want to hire you as my business coach. I was like, what? I didn't do that. And she's like, well, now you do, like, let me pay you. I want to pay you $2,000. I was like, okay. And so And so then she's still like a really good friend of mine. Now she's got like hundreds of thousands of followers all across social media. Back then she was literally a primary school teacher making less than $3,000 a month, Australian dollars, by the way. And so yeah, like we were hugely successful with what she was doing. She paid me $2,000. Like she launched her program. The first time around, she made 14,000. The next time around, she made 70,000, right? Tiny following, just with the methods that I was teaching to her that I had been doing in my fitness coaching company. And so she was basically doing vegan coaching, right? Like something like this back then. It wasn't as clear as it is now. And that's basically how Impact School was born. But it wasn't Impact School then. It was just like me just doing random stuff. And that's how it all came together.
Yeah, it's cool. It's amazing, like that, you know, when you kind of, sometimes we can put like this identity on ourselves, like, oh, I'm an online coach, that's who I am. But it's allowing yourself that little bit of openness to be, you know, open to new things that might come along the way from it and stem up from it, because you have that like experience with like working with a business and stuff, and being a very, very successful business as well, which is unbelievable. And I suppose when I like look at mentors and stuff, a lot of them you kind of see are kind of male, and it's the same with online coaches, I suppose, as well. So how did you find that kind of played any sort of an impact in, oh, when people like, look, oh, she's female, you know, do you think that played a role in your success doing that?
I don't know, actually. I really don't know the answer to this, because our clients are a massive mix of both. When I was in the fitness industry, like I was primarily helping girls, like not even really women, like it was girls like below the age of 21. And so I think obviously that was a huge advantage. I never really was the type of it just wasn't my brand. Like I'm not really like a sexy kind of person, you know. It just wasn't how I tried to portray myself. I'm just not like that. And I was always really into powerlifting, and so I've always been kind of more like a guy anyways. Like I hang around with guys, like most of my friends are dudes. I enjoy like guy things. And so to your point, I don't really think it matters what your sex is. I think now, as I get more into other types of business, like business acquisition and like different things like this, which I've been doing for the past few years now, it has been clearer to me when I go to events and someone will ask me like, oh, so where's your husband? And I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, who are you here with? I'm like, I'm by myself. They're like, oh, so who do you work for? I'm like, myself. They're like, oh, so what do you do, like web design or something? I'm like, who the hell do you think you're talking to right now? And so like I literally say to them like, oh, well, maybe we should connect on Instagram. And then like they look at my social media and then it's like dissolved. But it's interesting because that only is really like something that I've noticed a lot when I've been in circles outside of the coaching consulting kind of space. It sounds maybe a bit weird, but like usually in this space kind of people have some type of awareness of like what I do already before I go. So yeah, it's quite funny, but like I just like let them underestimate you, right? Like, yeah, okay, yeah, I'm just like a little girl, like I'm just here, you know, for fun, right? Like, you know, people have sometimes said to me in Dubai, they're like, are you from Russia? I'm like, Dubai. And I was like, dude, like seriously. So anyway, that's that.
Yeah. I know it's crazy because it's just like, say, when I look at myself, when I started coaching, I didn't like say a specific male or female, but obviously I found it was kind of females that were coming to me most. So that's where I kind of found like my niche when I was kind of working around it. So it's kind of interesting to see it from a different perspective that's not kind of fitness related, to see if it does kind of play a role. But I suppose then, from getting to where you are, like how did you cope with success in terms of like building a team and stuff? Like, is that something you had a background in doing, or did you have like a coach or a mentor yourself? Because when I look at that and I look at like where I want to go, I'm like, I don't have a clue of like everything up to now. I'm just like learning along the way, or I had a mentor myself for a while. But how did you kind of cope with that, like, and getting so successful and having to build a team? How did you kind of, what did you learn from it, or did you go to anyone for advice with it?
Yeah, so I mean, someone to be fair, the biggest question I always get asked is like, if you were starting again from scratch, what would you do differently? And my answer is that I would do everything the same. I just would make all my mistakes faster. Okay. Yeah. So I've made like every mistake you could possibly imagine, and it's the people area business when it comes to team is like the thing that I've always found the hardest. So in all the personality tests, I always come out as extroverted, but honestly, there's nothing more fulfilling to me than just sitting on my laptop and working. So I don't really know how this happens, but yeah. So talking to other people is like kind of, I love stuff like this, but when it's like I'm working in flow, like don't talk to me, right? So yeah. To your point, there's a few questions there. Like, have I hired coaches and mentors? I think I've probably spent around 700. I was trying to do the calculations the other day, around 780K over the last 2.5 years on coaching and mentorship and consultants and programs and investing in like high level team members, right? So like this is stuff paid out beyond people's like normal salaries that I've invested into this. So I spend a lot because I always think if someone knows something ahead of me, like I'm just costing myself stress, time, and energy in not knowing it. And I'm very grateful that Impact School is a very, very profitable, cash flow rich business. So I do have the funds to be able to invest into stuff like that without even flinching. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing regarding hiring, when I was doing fitness coaching, I didn't even realize that hiring was an option because I always used to think, well, people want coaching from me. They come to me because they want coaching. And yeah, they were coming to me because they wanted my methods to lose fat. They didn't want me to coach them. They wanted the outcome that they believed and perceived that I could produce. And so I should have positioned myself more as this is my company and I am the spokesperson for the company. And this is how my company gets results, rather than thinking like they need to talk to me, because they didn't need to talk to me. They needed to do my method that I had come up with. And then they could have had someone else coach them through that, which is eventually what I finally ended up doing after a long time of royally screwing that up. So like the fact that they come to me, quote unquote, that is a marketing thing. That's not a client fulfillment thing, right? So like they come to you because of your brand, but then they stay with you and pay you money, not because they're like, hey, Lauren, I love you. Like, here's $5,000. It doesn't happen like that. It's like, hey, Lauren, I want to lose 20 pounds of fat. Here's 5K. Do whatever the hell you want to do with this, but like make sure I lose this weight in this amount of time, right? And so that's that. Second thing is, how did I learn to hire people? Like, I mean, I really messed up the first time around. So I used to hire people just from my network and who I knew and who I could rapidly bring onto my team to do different things. And then they would say, yeah, I can do this and I can do that. And I can edit videos and make PDFs and I can speak to clients and make sales. And so I would just let them do whatever the hell they wanted to do. And that was a huge mistake because then when I finally realized I had to add some structure to my business, what ended up happening was this one guy, like he deleted my entire podcast. He deleted my website, my client portal, which meant that my emails weren't working. My clients were unhappy. And I suddenly lost 100+ episodes of Impact School podcast with guests like Grant Cardone, Ed Milet, and various others. All because he was pissed off that now he wasn't able to do what he wanted to do whenever he wanted to do it. And he had some constraints and accountability. And it was a shame because I really liked this guy. He had worked for me for years, but he thought that he should be my business partner rather than my employee, which he was my employee, right? So basically that was a huge disaster. And that was because I was just being way too lax with it all. And I was treating it like this fun project we were working on rather than treating it like an actual company. And when clients are involved who are paying you money to get them an outcome, you can't just treat it like a fun project. Like it's much more serious than that. So basically, yeah, I mean, I've invested a lot of money in coaches, even just to see how they run their business, just to learn a little bit. Masterminds have been very powerful for me. But if I could go back to the beginning, I would have hired someone to support me with getting this infrastructure right from day one, so that then I had the ability to scale to at least, I would say, like you want to get the business infrastructure set up so that it's going to be possible to get to, let's say, 3 million a year. And then beyond that, you know, there's different things that you have to do, but that's a totally different conversation.
Yeah. And like even looking with like setbacks like that, like they used to be something that would really bog me down if when I started off and a client said they were leaving, like I would take it so personally. I'm like, oh my God, like what am I doing wrong? And you get so worked up and it actually prevents you from doing more and learning something from it and taking on. So how did you deal with setbacks and failures, and how did you kind of get better at it, or what have you learned from it?
Every time you have a setback, it's just part of the book that you're one day going to write and share all your lessons with someone else. So as I'm going through something now, I literally just think this is going to be a really amazing book. And I know that sounds kind of idealistic of a way of thinking, but really it's helped me a lot, and it's a tool that I use whenever I'm struggling with something, because I have a real habit of catastrophizing, and I'm a very what's the word, I think it's like narcotic, is that the word? No, that's like drugs. There's this, in all the, I love the personality test, and I always get the answer which says like, you know, the like making things into like a catastrophe. I don't remember the word.
Like self-sabotage kind of, would it be? Or
no, it's not self-sabotage. It's like, maybe it is narcotic. I forget the word. I'll have to Google it. Let's see. Because I didn't know neurosis, no. It's not narcissistic, by the way. I don't remember, but anyways, like it's basically, it means like you catastrophize about things. So yeah. I always do that. Like I always think about like the very worst like possible answers that could possibly happen, like you know, just basically I think about things like that. And so I have to always remember, like, no, Lauren, this is just the way that your mind works. Like, because I used to have anxiety when I was younger, so I would always have panic attacks, and so like it's just, I would always have a panic attack and think I'm gonna die, right? Like that's kind of what I mean. Like I think this way. And so basically I just have to realize like that's just how your mind works. It's okay, like this is just your brain playing tricks on you again. And then just remember, this is going to be a great story to help other people. And so that's just helped me a lot.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because I'm the same. I always kind of think like, oh, like this will be part of the book now that I'm going to write. But for me as well, it's kind of thinking of the worst case scenario and thinking of the best case scenario. And I think sometimes when our brain acts up like that, it's like a safety mechanism that can work for us to a certain extent, but sometimes it can work against us. So it's trying to build that level of awareness. Okay, it's probably working against me here, and really looking into it that way. But I suppose a question, actually, just to kind of wrap things up a little bit, a question that came into my question box on Instagram today is, what is your 5-year kind of plan? And it just kind of had me thinking. I was like, this is a great question to throw at Lauren as a finisher. So do you have, like, in terms of like planning for the future, do you have a certain 5-year plan, or how does that look for you?
Yeah, so in 5 years, I'll be 30. So I think about this a lot because I have goals that I want to achieve by that age. So I have like business-wise and then personal. So like personal-wise, I actually do want to have a kid by then, like at least one. So that's like very important to me. So I want to be married with my boyfriend and have a child by then. At the same time as that, I also want to, well, we set, it's interesting, we set our goals on like a 3-year, like, so we do like 1 year, 3 year, and then 10 to 15. So like I guess this kind of falls in between that. So if I think about the 5-year, let's think, by then I want to have acquired at least 10 of our clients. So we're really like, we've been starting to get into this over the past few years, but we want to have like a company of companies, right? So back when I was working in asset management, one of the things that I was actually doing a lot of was like looking over the funds of funds. And I really like this model whereby like you have one company that has multiple companies inside of it, right? So that's one thing. Impact School is obviously a great incubator for businesses. And so that's where we know that we're going to be able to use Impact School to grow other companies, that we can obviously scale them, right? Like bigger businesses, not sort of, you know, kind of beginner businesses, but like businesses, I'd say at the very minimum doing like 500K per month, scaling those. So anyway, that's one thing. So I would say, yeah, probably having at least 5 to 10 of those in our umbrella. I want to also be, the 5 years really challenging for me because I think either like really long term or kind of like the right now. So 5 years, I guess, yeah, I'll leave it like that. Like that's probably what we want to get to before the end of this year. Like a big goal right now, really big goal that we want to hit, and we're on track to be doing this, is we want to have 1 million per month in profit. that's really like the biggest goal that we have at this exact moment. And the way that we've been able to get there is really because we have doubled down on our organic sales methods and marketing methods that we're really, really strong at, and also finding amazing people to come on the team. So that's kind of, I guess, to answer your question. But 5 years, yeah, that's an interesting time. I'll think about this more.
Yeah, it kind of had me thinking as well. I was like, I hadn't really kind of thought about that exact time frame as such. So it just kind of had me thinking. But yeah, that's cool. And even in terms of like Impact School and people finding you, do you mainly work with businesses that are more advanced, or is it beginner friendly businesses as well, or how does it kind of work? And is there certain kind of niches of businesses that you work with?
Yeah, so every single person or company that comes to Impact School, everything's one-on-one. So we used to have like group programs and everything. However, we found a model which we call the Impact Offer, which is scalable and also allows for the one-on-one intimacy, because like, I don't know if you ever ran a group program before, but like at the end of the day, people, they really still need that one-to-one support to get the best results. And the best way to get the fastest growth of your own business is to have referrals. And when people have that one-on-one, then you get way more referrals. So that's one thing. We have a couple different options. So for companies doing more than 15 to 20 grand a month in profit, we have a more advanced program in which we support them with businesses that are even worth, like we had this one client that's company was worth more than 250 million, right, who came to us and then they wanted to add a coaching program / online course subscription to what they were doing. And it was really interesting because of the things that we did with them in order to get this coaching program out. They were actually able to massively improve the sales process in which they had for their existing business, and get a deal that increased the valuation of their company by more than 100 million, right? So that was crazy. So we do work with companies of all different sizes. I would say our sweet spot is really on those businesses that are, you know, between 20 grand a month to like 500 grand a month. They're really our sweet spot. However, if they're a bigger business that wants to launch a coaching program or a course, we're really good there. And if they are brand new and wanting to get started, I mean, like for us, that's like, let's get it. Like let's go. Like we can do this, you know, that's why we're able to guarantee every result. Right. So like, yeah, no matter what size someone that comes to us is at, like we guarantee everything. So it's great. It's good fun.
Yeah, cool. It's really just like inspiring in a way, even, you know, for myself, like to kind of hear this, like it's like, it just really does make you realize, like when you kind of reach out to people like you and have conversations, what's actually possible. And it's kind of like realizing and like opening up those doors a little bit more and being like, okay, getting away from having those same conversations with same people every day. It really does just open up your eyes that there's a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, sorry, I think it just lagged there for a second. But okay, so I was scrolling on my phone the other day because when was it? Yeah, so 6 days ago, I was speaking at an event in Germany, and a new client of mine came, and she joined our more advanced program. She's doing around 80K per month profit right now. And she told me that she was going to Santa Monica. And so I said, oh, I love Santa Monica. And I typed it into the notes on my phone because I was like, this was always my dream to live there. And I found this note from 2018, which said my 5-year goals, which is funny that you just asked me my 5-year goals. And my 5-year goals was that I was living in Santa Monica with my boyfriend. I didn't have a boyfriend at the time, I didn't think. And I had a 10 million per year business. And that there were all these other goals, which like I had like far surpassed. And it was just really crazy because like I've been offered, you know, more than 5 times that for Impact School by private equity. And it's just funny because like, you know, you set your goals so small, like so small. And so I'm like, I don't even want to live in Santa Monica anymore. Like I was thinking like, okay, this is cool. Like I'm traveling with the man of my dreams, and like my business is way bigger than this. And I was like, holy shit, like next time I need to set my goals way bigger.
Yeah, I think that's it. Like when you look at setting your goals, like you do kind of like if I hear the word a million, I'm like, that's never happening, you know, and you just write it off completely. You never kind of look at, well, what if. So it is like, I think it's important as well when you do set goals that you're not just hell bent on them. You do leave that opportunity to you can move the goalposts a little bit further and a little bit further, which is amazing. Like,
yeah, that's healthy. Yeah, I love it. That's great.
yeah. But yeah, thanks so much. It's been an absolute inspiration having you on. Just having these conversations just really kind of drive me on to keep going as much as I can. So I really do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to have a chat with me.
No, thank you. I love your energy as well. Like I really do. And no, I'm just grateful to be able to, hopefully be able to help you in any way, because I can see your passion, and that's what it's about. Just like, having the passion for what you do, and then you're able to show up as the best person that you need to be to serve your clients and to make the impact that you're here to make.
Yeah, cool. But thanks so much.